So this might be the most unique weapon to come out of anything Bionicle adjacent. And I say that because it's actually fairly unique amongst Lego pieces in general. It's not the only piece that Lego has ever made with, I don't want to say dual molding or tri molding because it's not really molded this way. It's marbling, right? It is a blend of colors that is at a sort of unmeasured ratio, if you will. Dual molding insinuates more of like a clean cut, a clean separation between colors, but still, this is a really fascinating piece. It was introduced for Hero Factory, I believe in like 2012, but don't quote me on that. And it's just a really fascinating piece because of its use of a solid color with yellow, a translucent color with the translucent light blue here, and then a metallic color with gunmetal at the base. I've never seen Lego do something like this before or again. Surely they have, and I've probably overlooked it. But it's a really strange piece in general because it's a piece that calls a lot of attention to itself, but is almost always used in fairly subdued ways. Probably the most notable use of this piece is with the, is it Thunderbolt? Dragonbolt, that's it. Who has 8 of this piece and uses them more on display than other sets typically did. It was, however, featured on Voltic's set as well as Speeda Demon, which it felt very forced in that set, but at least with Voltic's it made sense. You know, he's a electric character. I guess it's just so colorful. Still though, it's a really fascinating piece, and it made me wonder, like, is it the first piece that we got from Bionicle or something Bionicle like with this triple molding? I think it is. I'm not positive, and I know that Dragon Bolt also featured the Brain Bug, which has 3 colors in it as well, and that one does include dual molding, and it's got like a rubbery material, so arguably an even more unique piece. But since that is sort of functioning as the collectible for that wave, I can understand why they did it. However, this wasn't like anything super special or obscure or, you know, highly sought after. It's just a lightning weapon with a handful of axle connections at the base, and that's it. It's an interesting piece, but it's not anything particularly special, and I find that as kind of crazy. Now, one of the gripes, I guess, that I have about this piece is the fact that there's no connection in the middle there. Hero Factory had this sort of like desire to never use pin connections on like any of their weapons for some reason, often opting for just no connection in a specific area or like bar connections instead, which obviously reduces the uses or secondary uses of a piece, right? But at the very least, having 2 axles here does help because it does mean you can still use this piece. You can still get away with using it in some really unique and interesting ways. I actually have like way too many of them. I have literally 21 of them sitting next to me right now, more in the other room, and I don't ask me how. I don't know where they all came from, but they're just such a interesting piece. And so it's like, obviously, like I said, it makes me wonder, why was it this piece that called for so many colors, and why did we not see something like this beforehand, honestly? Because obviously Bionicle, for, you know, you can gripe about it, you can complain about it, I often do, does have a decent amount of dual molded parts, or rather, again, marbled parts. 2008 especially onward, 2007 as well with the Baraki sets, but nothing that I can recall, at least like right in front of my mind here, that has this sort of like 3 colors all mixed into one piece quite like this. You can obviously make arguments with like things like the Krata where like colors come together, and so like the color in between looks a little bit different. The same is kind of true for another Hero Factory electric looking piece, which was actually used on the Protector of Jungle, and that set has trans blue fading to trans yellow, but because those colors mix to make a green, it almost looks like 3 colors are mixing in those pieces as well. So like, yeah, you can absolutely call out other pieces and say, well, this does it, well, that does it, and that's, I think you're right to do so, but this one's, I don't know, maybe it's just something that sticks out like a little thorn in my brain. It's so fascinating to me, and I really love pieces like this. By the way, if you don't have these, I would implore you to get some and experiment with them, just have fun with them. They're fairly small pieces, they're not you know, like I said, not calling a lot of attention to themselves. And like many other pieces, the trans blue can be various different shades of that color of blue. So sometimes you'll get it's a little bit darker, sometimes it's a little brighter. The distribution between colors can always change too. So more yellow, less yellow, more gunmetal, etc. So it is one of those pieces that's it's almost fun to collect just because of the subtle differences between them. But obviously, it doesn't make it like exciting to find one that's like, oh, look at this one, it's got, you know, no color in it or something. Anyway, getting ahead of myself here. So this wasn't the video that I had planned on making originally. I actually wanted to focus a bit on these pieces too. So I guess I'm going to do that towards the end of this video because I really find these ones fascinating as well. Most notably because these are lids for Matoran sets, which we had never really seen before. Even the Krata got lids on their own little mini canisters, which are adorable little pieces as well. But something like this and actually having a Lego part number on it was really fascinating to me. Because I actually used to go out of my way to buy 2007 Matoran set, sorry, 2008 Matoran sets, and a Gory from 2009, not just because I wanted the sets, but because I wanted these too. And each of the Matoran came with two. It was pretty generous. On top of that, though, these actually function really well as display pieces, not just from the top here, obviously, and from the side, but even from the bottom where it actually says Bionicle. It has a little bit of an interesting texture there as well. They don't stand 100% perfect on a level surface, which I think is really the one oversight, because they could very easily make like a little table or stand for your characters to be on top of, but they get reasonably close, and you know, it's more than fine to me. Still, though, I just find it fascinating how much and how many of these we got, and how many different colors we got of them because of their use across several different years. And yeah, although this is technically a trend that started in 2007 with the Baraki sets having something very similar to this, these were the years to really sort of solidify it. And obviously 2008 also came with the Toa sets and the Fantoka Makuta sets that had the display on the front of it, so like a case. It was a weird thing. Anyway, all of these are just weird things I wanted to pull up in a single video that I didn't really have room to put anywhere else. I could make a separate video on them, but yeah, they're just fascinating pieces to me. So let me know your thoughts specifically on what pieces you find the most obscure. Not even necessarily like collectible pieces, but things like this that just kind of like stand out for really no reason to you, or maybe you have an attachment to for, you know, maybe the set being your first, or for some other reason. I could definitely go on about that. So you could do that in the comments below, where we can take the conversation a bit further over on Discord, Instagram, and Patreon, which are all linked in the description below. And of course, make sure to like and subscribe, and I guess ring the bell wherever that's at. I'll see you all in the next one. Oh, and we hit 2,700 subscribers. Thank you all so much. Take care.